Hey, what's up, guys? So yesterday I was talking about gnosis. I was talking about basically following your own path and finding your own way. Today I want to talk about a little bit about how commonly certain ways of approaching spiritual practice can actually inhibit this, right? It depends. It depends on what end of the spectrum you're on. If you look at spiritual practices in general, you find this common thread that a lot of them will say restriction, right? Like asceticism. Don't do this, don't do that, don't be prideful, don't eat, all these sorts of things. And I think that is generally designed for people who are too entrained in life, like probably already caught up in this time period, like caught up in their career and, eat all this food and have all these things that they're holding on to that they can't do without, that they're scared to let go of, right? Now, if you are deep in sort of spiritual practices, self-development, there's the other end of the spectrum, which is you've been doing all this restriction and now you're in this sort of state where it's not like homelessness, but it's sort of where you are so you don't do anything, you don't need anything, so you come to the point where life is sort of empty. And that's not a bad thing, actually. That's quite a strength. If you went from the point of being like totally ensnared in all the material stuff to being, now you basically don't want or need anything, that's like a great achievement. And also it's strengthening for your soul, because you see what you're actually capable of, what you need and don't need, and you can basically you can deal with any difficult situations. You know that inside yourself you can basically deal with any deprivation. But when we get to this point, right, or either point, there's something that I think really is at root from either perspective, an issue which would lead us to keep on seeking for other teachings or other outside opinions and stuff, and that is on our self-restriction, on the things either that we think we can't do without materially, or the things that we think we have to start and not do spiritually. So on one end you have this sort of fear of lack. On the other side you have guilt for action. Both of these are the same, or are in a form of self-perpetuated state of inaction, and that basically leads to a lack of freedom. So for anyone on either side of the spectrum, there's two. If you're super caught up in your life and there's things that you're just terrified of doing without, whether it's a substance or a thing or your job or stuff like that. And I'm not saying jobs are bad. You've got your shit to pay probably, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is that if you're on that end of the spectrum, restriction is a good thing, right? You may want to try and let go of these things. Anything that's causing you fear inside when you think about it. It's anything these things that right now, if you go still or quiet and you think as far back as you can, there's going to be a little fear that pings and gets you up. Oh no, I need to stay here so that I can address this fear which is deep down in my soul, right? That's one end of the spectrum of an internal problem that's going to cause you an inability just to enjoy life and actually to get where you want to go, really, which is to a state of freedom and unrestricted action and happiness. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're deep in restriction and now you go to picture yourself going out and doing stuff, whatever you would want to do, then you'll get a little fear. Oh no, I can't do that because this might happen. Now, well, my point is here, if you're at that state where you're deep in restriction, then I would say this: let go of all rules, because what's happening basically when we're seeking these sort of self-improvement, the reason that we're searching is because we feel like inside of us, or you feel like probably inside of you, there's some power and there's some strength that's not being accessed, that you're not fully being able to release, or something that a deeper power that isn't being expressed. And the only way to express that is to let go of all the restrictions. Now, there's obviously material restrictions, there's people who do stuff to you and all of that. But on the whole, the only thing that can stop you from acting or feeling that you can act is yourself, right? So if you're in a state of restriction right now, or you've been following a lot of spiritual practices and you feel this sort of fear at what you might do, or your life's particularly flat, I would say do the opposite. Let go of all the rules, forget all the teachings. And that's why they say most of these spiritual practices, they'll say at the end, you forget about all the rules. First you absorb the rules so that you know how to have discipline, but then you let it all go so that you can act freely and actually do what you're meant to do. So in that sense, I would say yes. If you are in that state where you're like doing everything right, but you still don't feel like you have the freedom you want, forget all the shit you've ever been told and follow your own intuition, because deep down you know what's right and wrong. If you've gone through all these things, then you probably have done bad things that you feel guilty about. Just let all that go now. Just do whatever you want to do, whatever feels right, and follow the steps that you see necessary to get yourself your freedom. materially. Find a way to get a job that or a work that's free. Like internet businesses, all these sorts of things. In your personal life, let go of the relationships that are doing you harm, or find a way to express yourself properly in those relationships if you're not wanting to let them go, which is it's just fine. Material relationships and health wise, let go of all the shit that's hurting you. Just you have an internal set of you have like the exact answer to what you need. All you need to do is just follow that and don't be scared. Just let go of all the restrictions. All right, so that's the video for today. If you liked it, put a comment if there are things that you actually want to hear from me if you're watching these and like it, because it would be nice to build up this channel. All right, hope you're good.